This week on The Land Doctors, if you think Oklahoma's beautiful, wait until you see what's just beneath the surface. We're going to check out the Oklahoma Underworld and learn more about the state's geology.
This program is sponsored in part by the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board. The OERB is voluntarily funded by Oklahoma's oil and natural gas producers and royalty owners, and their funds are being used for well site restoration and student education all across the state. Since 1993, the OERB has restored more than 13,000 orphaned and abandoned well sites at no cost to landowners or taxpayers, employing Oklahoma contractors all along the way. The OERB is proud to serve the state of Oklahoma.
Daddy, where did those come from?
Well, let me tell you.
Great Plains Kubota, your Oklahoma Kubota dealer and proud sponsor of the Land Doctors. Kubota, for Earth, for life. This program is sponsored and produced by the Land Doctors Management Group. We all know that Oklahomans belong to the land, but even the best of us need a little help from time to time. If you've got a spot of land that you love but would like to make it even better, we're here to help. Whether it's wildlife, water management, natural resources management, environmental cleanup, or even real estate development, these doctors are always on call.
I love the smell of fresh dirt in the morning. It smells like victory.
I need the Oklahoma wind to run open through my veins. I need the Indian grass to cut right through these long and lonesome days homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. I hear the scissor tail calling me from the redbud trees. I hear the topwater roar in the still of the day as the bass enjoy their feast homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. Whoa, I recognize that front porch light from a mile away. Whoa, this is a place that for all my life I have longed to stay, where I want to stay.
Hi, welcome to this week's episode of The Land Doctors. I'm Kelly Hurt.
And I'm Kevin Blackwood, and welcome to the Oklahoma Underworld.
You mean we're going down there?
Oh yeah,
I better come back out.
maybe.
The cave that I'm descending into is located in a super secret area in the Arbuckle Mountains. We'd love to tell you where we are, but we can't. We're sworn to secrecy. However, our goal today is to make you aware that caves exist in Oklahoma and to give you some information on how they formed and some of their special characteristics. As I climb off the ladder, the first thing I notice hanging from the ceiling is a bat.
It's a fuzzy little bat.
So this little guy right here, this is an eastern pipistrelle bat.
Eastern who?
Eastern pipistrelle.
Pipistrelle.
Pipistrelle, yeah. So they're not a very social bat, so you usually see them just kind of scattered, one or two here and there. Very rarely do we see them in clusters, but never any bigger than 5 or 10. So.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
So
What if one attacks me?
they
scream then?
They won't attack you. So right now during the winter, this is they're hibernating right now.
Oh, so he's asleep.
Yeah, and then during the summertime they'll head out and sleep in the trees. So
Cool. All right, he's our friend.
yeah.
All right,
So
onward and let's go deeper.
okay.
Man, it's hot in here.
Oh yeah,
I need to take this jacket. Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah, little windows. So this cave, this is a hypogene cave. So it's forming from the bottom up. So it forms more of like a ramiform.
Like a what form?
It's like moving through the inside of a sponge.
Oh, okay,
Where
Swiss cheese.
Yeah. So caves that form from the top down.
Yeah.
they kind of, sometimes they have more of a branch work pattern, like a creek,
Yeah.
where these ones are forming from the bottom up, so you get these rooms like this and a lot of dead-end passages.
That's
And so
crazy.
We have a lot of minerals that we think were brought up from depth, and they're injected into these cracks,
Yeah.
and now they're leaching back out, and they're stained a lot of these Spelothems, this flowstone.
Flowstone.
Yeah.
Look at this window. We really take for granted what's beneath our feet
Mhm.
and think it's terra firma. It just keeps going back to there.
Yeah.
But we think it's terra firma to the center of the earth, and often that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, we'll see. There's only a few entrances that actually allow you into the subsurface.
Yeah.
Most caves don't have entrances, so like Mammoth Cave, 400 miles long, only has 2 natural entrances.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the caves here in Oklahoma, and when you get into the western part of the state, where you get like a lot of the gypsum caves,
Yeah.
a lot of those have multiple entrances. The Arbuckle Mountains, a lot of the entrances are collapsed, or they don't even exist. So sometimes we dig open entrances, but this one here, the only reason why this one even has an entrance is the creek cut into it.
Yeah.
So it has no genetic relationship with the surface. So because there's no water coming down to form this cave.
Cool. Well, let's go deeper.
Okay, so what's happening is we have water that's leaking in from the surface.
Yeah.
It's moving down little cracks and veins, and it's dissolving the limestone as it comes down. Then it gets redeposited
Yeah.
as this flowstone. And so there's other little minerals that are in some of these cracks. And so
That is
there's,
really interesting looking, though.
yeah, so there's probably a lot of iron that is coating this one right here.
Yeah.
And then when it drips down to the floor, so everything is dry right now, but normally there would be little pools of water right in here. And then all the limestone that's dissolved into this water, it gets deposited on these little grains of rock and sand, and it creates pearls similar to what you see in oysters.
Yeah.
Where an oyster, the pearl starts as a sand grain, and it irritates the oyster, rolls it around, the calcium carbonate attaches to it.
Yeah.
This is just water droplets moving it around, and so it sticks and creates these really nice, smooth, and polished cave pearls.
One thing I want to point out is it's 20 degrees outside, and in here I'm hot.
Yeah,
It's amazing how warm it is down here.
Yeah, it stays. It's about the mean annual temperature. So you have your highs and your lows during the summer and winter, and so the cave temperature just stays, about in the middle of those two. So.
Well, I'm gonna have to stop and take off clothes.
So yeah.
Okay.
Not
all of them.
I thinned down before I came in. So
I'm not gonna take them all off, but some.
yeah.
Well,
Let me see if I can find.
look at that up there. Is that cave bacon?
Yeah, it's somewhat. The cave bacon has some more banding in it, and this is all kind of the same thing, just different types of dripstone.
Yeah.
So,
And those are roots.
yeah, and so the roots will come down, and a lot of these stalactites will actually begin along a root, and so you don't want to bump those. They're pretty fragile.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll come down the root and create called like a biofilm.
And what do you call this where it's sort of cascading down the
Oh,
side?
this is flowstone. So you have flowstone where it flows down the walls,
Yeah.
and then you have dripstone where it drips from the ceiling,
Oh.
and then you have like stalagmites and rimstone pools and stuff that form on the floor.
And stalactites stick tight to the ceiling, and
Yeah.
stalagmites
Yeah.
to the floor. Okay.
Yeah, and stalagmites actually have a lot of value in science, especially with climate studies.
Yeah.
Because you go and you core a tree,
Yeah.
look at the tree rings and look at past climate data. But you can usually only go so many 100 years back
Yeah.
with trees. But a lot of the stalagmites you can go back thousands of years, and then you can look at the isotopes and get a really good idea of what the climate was like in the past.
Very good. Okay. Well, let's go a little deeper. Brad Woods is going to tell us a little bit about these pipistrelle bats.
Eastern Pacific.
Eastern pipistrelle,
Yeah.
as opposed to the western or northern or the southern. So tell us, Brad, what are we looking at here?
We've got a small cluster of eastern pipistrelles, which are now reclassified as a tricolored bat instead of a pipistrelle. But it's very rare to see these bats in a little cluster like this because they're not a colony bat. They're typically independent bats, and you'll see maybe 2 or 3 maybe in a cluster. We've got about 9 up here on the ceiling in a little cluster. And
So that's unusual for them to be that friendly.
Yeah, it's unusual for these bats. Usually the bats up in northwestern Oklahoma, which are the Mexican free-tail bats, they're a very large colony bat, and you'll see them in clusters of hundreds of thousands at a time.
Yeah.
On the ceilings. So it's
But these
unusual
guys are
sight.
sort of uppity. They're hermits, don't like each other.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't usually mix in with other bats in the
Snobbish.
caves.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, you were sitting next to a pretty impressive stalactite there.
Yeah. So yeah, this one here, this is a pretty massive formation right here. And we've got little stalagmite forming underneath it, and at some point, assuming this continues to keep depositing the calcium carbonate mineral, these two will connect
Yeah.
and form a column. And so we've got another little stalactite forming over there with a bunch of little rimstone pools. And the cave looks like it's been dry for some time, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go a little deeper then.
Yeah, I gotta stand up a little bit. We've got some pearls up here. We've got some really nice, shiny, polished cave pearls right here. These ones have a real nice thick coat of calcium carbonate on them. Or some of these other ones, these ones are kind of eroded a little bit, and there's not, they don't have the luster to it as the other ones.
Okay.
And then we've got some popcorn over here.
This is popcorn?
Yeah, so it kind of looks like popcorn, like that you eat. So it's been.
That's an awful big piece of popcorn.
Yeah, well, these little pieces that are these little protrusions.
Oh, the little pieces.
Yeah.
Not
This
the
rock here, it came down from somewhere.
Yeah, it used to be over our heads.
Yeah. So.
You ever see rocks fall while you're in these caves?
Usually it's because somebody knocked it loose.
Yeah.
But as far as a rock falling naturally, no, I don't think so.
Cool.
But
What's Kevin? What's the yellow stain there on that flowstone?
you know, that it could just be different impurities that are in the calcium carbonate. And calcium carbonate has, different. It kind of has a little bit of yellow color to it.
Does it?
I don't want to say what this could be.
Couldn't be a touch of sulfur, could it?
Some people that I've been working with have been investigating
Yeah.
the presence of sulfur in caves, and they actually detected sulfur in the rock in small amounts. But with this being a hypogene cave, it is absolutely possible that it could be sulfur, but it doesn't really look like it. But
Well, feel free to speculate. We won't hold it against you.
Okay.
We won't know any difference. So
yeah,
I'm amazed how dry it is in here. I would have thought that, with the rain that we've had, that we would see at least some evidence of
yeah.
moisture, but it's bone dry in here.
Well, the reason why this cave is so dry compared to a lot of other ones is because this one has no genetic relationship with the surface. So it was not formed from water coming from the surface downward. It was from water coming
up.
from below. And so we'll see rising shafts, and then a lot of these like dead-end passages, crazy, chaotic, three-dimensional shapes.
So the water's coming up, and then it's trying to continue on. So we're just at one level of its course as it worked its way, trying to get out to the surface under pressure.
Yeah.
So these are like chimneys almost.
Yeah. So the water was working its way up, but it found a more effective way through, and so it followed that way. So you'll see a lot of cracks in the walls, and the water was exploiting a lot of these cracks, trying to find the easiest way through.
This is really neat, Kevin. Really neat.
So when we get into this kind of cave forming process, things started getting really weird. Normally you don't have water moving from one formation to another through a confining unit, but we see that with hypogene speleogenesis.
Speleogenesis.
Yeah, it's cave forming process.
Cave forming,
Yeah.
very nice. Well, let's go look at some of this aquifer that you keep talking
Yeah.
about.
All right, let's.
You've got a cave that we can actually step into the aquifer?
We can look into it. We can
You
see
don't
the
wanna
water
jump?
down there.
Okay.
It's, the water's going to be about 20 feet down in a water-filled crevice, and you
Yeah.
can see some flooded passages down in there. So.
Awesome. Let's go do it. So, Kevin, these caves are not just, out in the open. They're sort of hidden. How in the world do you find them?
Well, with this particular cave, we actually predicted that this one would be here because there's two creeks. We've got one on the west and one on the east. And all the rocks that are coming through here, they're all dipped up at about a 35-degree angle. And we noticed that the creek over on the west side, the water flowed down and it stopped at a certain point. And if you follow that ridge of rock that came all the way over to the other side of the creek on the east, it was coming out of a spring. So we figured the water was actually moving through a parting between two beds and then exiting out over on the east. And so we figured there'd probably be some sinkholes along that same line. And so we were actually walking the line from the spring back over to the creek and came across this thing, big 18-foot deep crevice in the ground. So, but a lot of them, you'd find little fractures and it might open up at some point.
So the water going down the creek suddenly just disappears. It goes underground, and it goes beneath the ground, and then comes out in the other creek as a spring.
Yeah.
So you just basically follow that bedding plane.
Yeah,
from point A to point B.
Yeah, and if we want to confirm that, we could always do a dye trace. Put an environmentally friendly dye in the water, and then we stick a little charcoal packet at the spring, and we can
see if
pick
it comes
up
out.
Yeah.
Now, is there water visible in this cave?
Yes, actually, this is called a karst window.
Yeah.
So this is a sinkhole that you can actually see the water flowing from the west to the spring at the east.
So we're actually seeing the aquifer here.
Yes. Yeah, you'll see all the water, the groundwater down here. So
amazing. Well, let's get down in there and check it out.
Okay. So this cave is about an 18-foot drop coming down right here, and then we've got another 12-foot drop right over there, and then it's another 20 feet deep underwater, and there's a flooded passage down there that goes straight off to the west toward the losing section on the creek.
Now, does this connect to the spring we just saw?
Yeah. So this is the karst window where we've got the water from the west moving back off to the east.
Yeah.
And we just happen to have this fracture that ran right along through here that created a nice little intersection, produced a sinkhole, and we can look down and see the water. So
it's just a window right into the top of that tube.
Yeah, and hopefully the water's nice and crystal clear. So.
Cool. Well, we'll check it out. I think Brad's trying to rappel down in here now.
Yeah. So these features right here, these are bubble trails. This cave will flood during heavy rains, and we've come in here, and the entire floor looks totally different after a heavy rain. But you'll see these things called Spelothems, which are these pointed pendants that are hanging down. They're erosional features, not depositional features. So this is a fairly young cave geologically compared to the other one that we previously looked at.
In the next few clips, you'll notice that you don't see me, and there are a few good reasons for that. Number one, I'm too old. I decided to let the young guys go down and do the rappelling and crawling through the tiny crevices. Oh, and that brings me to number two. I'm too fat. I would have probably gotten stuck if I'd tried to go through some of the holes that they were slithering through. But probably most importantly, I've got too much to live for. I have a family to think about. So I just stood on the top and watched them as they disappeared into the darkness. Many of the clips that you see in this episode were taken by Kevin previously, so I was really glad he was there with us this day because he was able to get some more amazing footage. I certainly appreciate the extremes they went to show us everything from flowing water, underground streams, and unexpected wildlife. Because you can believe if it had been left up to me and cameraman Eric, you would have never seen it.
So I got some really nice shots. Very pretty blue water. So it's 20 feet deep, but it doesn't look like it because of the refraction of light through the water. Makes it look more like it's 12 or 14 feet deep. But very clear, very cool.
After I crawled out of the pit of death, Kevin, Stacy, and I walked to one of their favorite spots on the ranch, and we talked about how they got into caving. So Kevin, what you do is really interesting to me, but I guess the question I have is, how did you get started?
I heard stories about landowners that could hear water flowing underground, and I heard stories about people that go in caves and they'd swim under a wall and come up in a passage on the other side, and that stuff really fascinated me. And so I pretty much got started during the Arbuckle Simpson hydrology study, and so I got to do a lot of this stuff firsthand, got to see where a lot of these caves were, and establish relationships with the landowners, And we started continuing research on their property. We'd help landowners find water for water and livestock and for their houses, for drinking water, and so a lot of them are real grateful, and they keep allowing us to go out and keep doing this stuff.
So Stacy, were you doing this before you met and married Kevin, or did he just drag you along into this?
He just told me a little bit about it and what he was planning on starting to do and how it would, contribute to his degree, and then I just kind of tagged along and started taking photos, and then the landowners really love seeing the photos of their property that they cannot normally, see on a normal basis, so they really appreciate it.
To be able to see the photos inside the cave?
Yeah, just stuff that they don't see all the time.
That's pretty neat. So what kind of organizations are you involved in, Kevin?
Well, we've got the two organizations. We've got the Arbuckle Mountains Grotto. It's a charter organization of the National Spelothems Society. So most of the work we do is mapping and exploration. And then we have the Arbuckle Karst Conservancy, which we're branching into a research institute where we just focus on karst in general, looking at a lot of springs, even looking at surface features, looking at the geomorphology of the rock and streams and other such features. We've got a pretty good group of scientists working with us.
So as much time as you spend underground, I have to believe that you've run into and seen some weird things.
I've seen some really weird things. The weirdest things, just the things that happen with water. There's these weird pulsing actions that we're currently investigating. Rather than water coming over waterfalls in a nice steady stream, it comes over in little spurts. And so one of the things we think is happening is the breaking of a siphon and other effects like barometric pressure, maybe having a role in that. But we noticed a lot of watermarks on walls, and Brad actually, he located some of the siphons on a trip earlier this year. And they just, it's like, you think of those little dog bowls that's got the reservoir jug.
Yeah.
Dog drinks it down so much, and all of a sudden water shoots up and the water drops a little bit. And so we think that's how a lot of these caves are draining. And we'd like to get a little bit more funding and put some pressure transducers at the springs. And we should be able to see these ticks where we'd have a large discharge of water, and then it'd start tapering off, and we have another one, these little kicks on a hydrograph. So that's stuff later on down the road.
Well, I wish you the best. I think what you're doing is wonderful, and just working with the landowners to help them understand more about their property and what's beneath it. And so good luck to you, and we really appreciate you bringing us out today and showing us all this, because we would never see this without people like you that know how to get us in there and show us around. And again, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Land Doctors. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and for more information about this and other episodes, please go to landdoctors.com. And as always, stick around after the credits for some Lagniappe.
I need the Oklahoma wind to run open through my veins. I need the Indian grass to cut right through these long and lonesome days homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. I hear the scissor tail calling me from the redbud trees. I hear the topwater roar in the still of the day as the bass enjoy their feast homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. Whoa. Whoa, this is a place that for
So we've got a little bit of cave graffiti here. Looks like David Harris, February of 1952.
Yeah, back then a lot of people, they thought it was okay to write your names on the insides of caves to let people know that at least they made it there.
Yeah.
Or if they died, maybe they knew who it was. But about 1960s, a lot of people started really frowning on that, so we really discouraged people from doing that because it defaces the cave. And,
Yeah.
really,
Well, shame on David.
Yeah.
Shame upon you, David.
He's probably,
Shame.
probably not even alive. So.
I like the acoustics in here. I'll go to my grave loving you.
Yeah, that's a really hard question to say.
Well, that's why I asked.
Because
You're the expert. Come on. You're supposed to know this stuff.
yeah, but it goes both. It can go different ways. And watch out for the bats.
Okay.
Oh.
This program is sponsored in part by the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board. The OERB is voluntarily funded by Oklahoma's oil and natural gas producers and royalty owners, and their funds are being used for well site restoration and student education all across the state. Since 1993, the OERB has restored more than 13,000 orphaned and abandoned well sites at no cost to landowners or taxpayers, employing Oklahoma contractors all along the way. The OERB is proud to serve the state of Oklahoma.
Daddy, where did those come from?
Well, let me tell you.
Great Plains Kubota, your Oklahoma Kubota dealer and proud sponsor of the Land Doctors. Kubota, for Earth, for Life. This program is sponsored and produced by the Land Doctors Management Group.